All right, we are back. It is turn 3, and the weather is clear. And let's see what the French are going to do. They rolled a 6, so they have 7 movement points. Now, looking at the situation here, the British look like they have kind of concentrated a little too far forward. And I'm looking at the first corps here, and with a forced march in 2 turns, it could make it to Ghent. And it would be very hard for the British and their allies to stop this move. Now, Ghent is not an objective for the French. Remember, their objectives were Brussels and Liège. But if we can maybe make a move on Ghent, if we capture it, it will automatically reduce all of the British and their allies' corps by 2 cohesion points. So that's pretty nasty. That kind of represents kind of a loss of morale and a loss of supplies that would come from having lost their base behind them. So we're going to try that. We're going to see what else we might do here. So let's start off first. We're going to go ahead and spend 1 movement point to move the first corps to Ath, I should say, and the next to move to Grammont. So that's cost 2 movement points. That leaves 5. And the first corps is going to lose a cohesion point for the forced march. Now, that gives us 5 more to do. So we are going to move these corps into Quatre Bras, and we'll move these corps into Quatre Bras. And then the final move will be to move Napoleon and the cavalry there as well. So that's probably about the best we can do for the moment. It gives the British a little bit of a complication as far as what they're going to do. So let's see what that looks like. All right, so the Allies had rolled and only got 1 extra movement point for both the British and the Prussians. Now the British, if they can try to stop the first corps, but the second corps can't do it on its own. And the reason I say that is very simple. The second corps only draws 2 cards, while the third corps draws 3 cards, and because the second corps would be attacking perhaps across the river, either way they try to approach, the first corps, the French, are going to get an extra bonus of 2 cards. So they'll have 5 cards to 2 cards. There's just no way that the second corps can win. So we'd have to send the cavalry and Wellington and hope that we can get a favorable reinforcement to do that. Of course, that means that the forces that we leave here are going to be in trouble with the French right next door. Plus, Brussels is within easy striking range of the French. So the question is, what do we try to do? Do we try to save Ghent? A bit of a gamble. Do we try to save our army? the Prussians are still a little too far away to do anything. So it is a bit of a mess. The British are in a pickle. So here's what we're going to do with their 3 movement points. We figure we're better off defending and keeping the army together. So we're going to pull them back here to Waterloo. And so that's 3 movements for them. And the Prussians are going to move there 1, 2, 3 to get those 3 corps there. There's no combat. So that is the end of turn number 3. Okay, it's now the beginning of the 4th turn. The French have 6 movement points. So we are going to use 2 of those points to move to Ghent. So we're going to move the 1st Corps, that's 1 point, to move them here, and then the 2nd movement point to get them to Ghent. So that's going to bring us down to 4 remaining movement points, and the 1st Corps is going to take a loss. All right, now with our 4 remaining movement points, we can try to engage the British here at Waterloo before the Prussians can join them. And so this is a good chance maybe to hit them before things get too complicated with the Prussians. So we're going to move in the 1, 2, the Imperial Guard, 3, and the cavalry 4. Of course, Napoleon will be with it. The 3rd Corps will stay in Quatre Bras to be brought in as a reinforcement if we go into multiple turns. So now it's time for combat. All right, so the French have a total of 16 cards. They have a great many infantry assault cards, about 4 grand battery cards, 4 combined actions, 2 counterattack, and 1 skirmish. Meanwhile, the Allies have got 13 cards, 3 cavalry, 4 combined arms, a grand battery, a counterattack, and 4 skirmish. So let's go ahead and see what the French play first. I think since they've got so many infantry assaults, they'll play an infantry assault, and the British don't have an infantry assault card, so they would have to spend one of their combined arms cards on that. The French can spend round 2 a grand battery card, and the British have got a grand battery card to deal with that. So that's 2 rounds so far. The Allies don't want to do a counterattack because they don't have enough cards to stay in it if they're the attacker. And once you're the attacker, you can't back out. The French are going to try to roll to see if we can get the 3rd Corps to join. They've got to roll a 2 or less. They roll a 6, so they're not coming in as reinforcements yet. Round 3, let's go with another infantry assault card, and the English have to counter that with a combined arms. We're going to try to get the 3rd Corps to come in. A 4, nope, not yet. Let's see, we will go with another infantry assault, and that can only be countered with a combined arms. So that's round 4. Let's see if we can get some more reinforcements in. We do. 3rd Corps comes in, and they've got another 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. So another combined arms for the French, another grand battery, and another counterattack card for the French. So the French are still the attackers. They'll go with a grand battery, And at this point, the British are down to their last combined arms card, which they've just played. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards. 5 rounds. Let's see. Time for the French to play something else. They can play a infantry assault card, and the British player doesn't have anything left that can counter the infantry assault. So at this point they have lost the battle in round 6. So they're going to take 6 losses, plus each of the corps will take a loss for retreating, and they're going to retreat back to Brussels. And let's go ahead and kind of mark them off here. So the First Corps took a loss for the retreat. The reserve took a loss for the retreat, and the cavalry took a loss for the retreat. And then we've got 6 more losses to allocate. So if we're going to be equitable, we'll take 2 more off of Orange, and 2 more off of Picton, and 2 more off of the cavalry. So there we've taken our losses. Now the French have got to take half as many losses as were inflicted in the combat round. So there were 6 losses for combat, so they need to take 3. So we can take a loss off of the cavalry. We've got Lebeau's corps there. We can take a loss there, and Girard's corps, we can take a loss there. So there's our 3 losses for the French. So that was a bloody battle at Waterloo. It went a little different than what happened historically. So that's the French turn and the French combat. Now it's time for the Allies to do something. So at this particular stage in the game, the Prussians have got 3 moves. They're going to come here to Wavre, so that way they could come to Wellington's aid if Brussels is attacked, or if they're attacked, the British can come to their assistance. So there's no combat there. Now here's what's going to happen. Ghent has been captured by the French, and it's been held, so we're just going to put a little cube there indicating that that's the case. Now that means that all of the Allies are going to take, the Allied armies are going to take 2 hits. So that corps goes down by 2, that corps goes down by 2, that corps goes down by 2, and this one goes down by 2. So the cavalry are almost wiped out, and a few of them have gotten close to the tipping point. And of course, there's not much to keep the First Corps from marching on to Antwerp. So the Allies are in a little bit of a pickle here, to put it mildly, at the end of turn 4. All right, it's beginning of turn 5, and the French have got some decisions to make. They've got 5 movement points, so they can move the entire force at Waterloo, but the question is where to. If they attack the Prussians at Wavre, the British could come as reinforcements, and vice versa. If they're able to take Brussels, well, that's one of their objectives, and it would do considerable harm to their opponent. But they're not going to have any reinforcements coming in. So basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the entire army that's there would go in, and there's a decent chance that the Prussians might be able to come in and intervene. So the French have got to decide either to go there or to maneuver somewhere else and try to split up the Allies so that way they can't concentrate like they're doing there. So to that end, we're going to try to see if we can maneuver and make a run for Liege. So we're going to use our points, and we're just going to move everybody here to Cointrebas, and that is it for the French. Now the English and have got 4 moves, so they're going to bring this unit back here as support, and they're going to see if they can send something maybe towards Ghent. The idea being maybe to retake Ghent or dislodge the First Corps from that spot. Now Blücher's got 3 movement points, and what he could do would be to stay where he's at to support his ally, or to move towards Liege. I think what would make sense would be to at least put this unit in Liege, so that way we don't get hoodwinked there, or humbugged, as Wellington had said. And we'll wait and see what the French do. All right, so the French have got 7 movement points, so they are going to maneuver towards Liege. So we're going to bring the Second Corps over here to that town. The bulk of the stuff is going to move, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the cavalry will move to Houthemont. That's 6, and we'll have Napoleon with the cavalry. We're going to tempt fate and see if we can provoke Blücher into attacking and maybe bringing the rest of my troops in as reinforcements. So we'll see if that works. The Prussians would be attacking across the river there to go from Wavre to Houthemont, so we'll see if they take the bait. No battles for the French this turn. Meanwhile, the Allies have got 3 movements, and the Prussians also 3 movements. So they're going to see if they can't put a little bit more pressure. So there's 1, 2, and kind of work their way towards, actually I got to attack across the river, wouldn't I? It might make more sense to go this way and then come around this way and attack Ghent without attacking across the river, maybe combining it in some way. So that's it for them. The Prussians, should we be like Marshal Blücher and really go forwards all crazy? Let's see. Well, or we can maneuver here. We'll do that. That's probably a more sensible move to make. All right, that's the end of turn 6.